because we're in a public park, we have a permit which to some degree makes us responsible for activity in that park. If they're in a tent, is that now again a private residence type situation?
Private property inside a tent?
You know what I'm saying?
You know, it's kind of like an RV. You know, you like a camper. You know, you take that to a campground and you know, kind of becomes like your residence.
Yeah.
And so, you know, yeah, it's a private property issue. So, you know, we kind of have to treat it as such, even though this is a city park and you know it's public property.
Because we need to know because basically we want to follow to the letter the law here, and we want to follow to the letter the things that will keep our reputation as a viable group trying to do positive things.
Yeah, you don't want your message to be misinterpreted.
No, we don't. But if in fact the law is that when they're in the tent, that's treated like a temporary mobile residence, then we don't really have the right to say you can't do that in your tent. I mean, is that what you're saying to me, or do we know what the area is on that law? Because we need to know how to handle it and stay legal.
Kind of a big gray area there. You know, I mean, now if someone's smoking marijuana in a tent, you know, everybody in this whole park's going to be able to smell that, including us.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, you know, okay, we've got evidence of drug use right there.
It's a crime being committed in the presence.
Well, then, exactly.
Okay.
Then you can search the tent, no problem.
So, but you know, we can't, you know, we can't just go enter just because we have suspicions.
Right. That's why I asked about the private property issue. It's going to be a warrantless search,
and we're in that same situation where we have passed zero tolerance rules ourselves at General Assembly that we do not want drugs and alcohol within our midst because we're trying to present, as I said, a positive.
It's a no-brainer. We've passed this 3
constructive
times.
group here, and you can't say we want to change the democratic process. You're getting wasted in the background. You can't do that. But we also don't want to say, well, we're telling the people in the tent, no, we're going to violate your rights. So I guess we need to know about that gray area.
Yeah.
We know you're drinking in there, so we're going to call the police on you. But if that's a gray area, because that's considered kind of their mobile residence,
well, and that's
how do we handle
we
that?
can't enforce you know, your policies and your rules. You know, like on the drinking deal. You know, if they're of age, you know, we can't enforce it.
The only thing they can't have glass bottles inside a park.
I see.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the city ordinance
That's a city
allowed
ordinance.
drinking if you're in a plastic cup and you're not.
Yeah, that's the only thing. Glass
Yeah.
bottles are not allowed inside anything.
Okay.
So anything that we do in General Assembly is a zero tolerance, basically, is our policy.
It's your house
But has nothing to do
Yeah.
with actual
we can't-
legality of it.
It's not a city ordinance or
We
a
can't
state law.
enforce that. The no drinking now. The no druggers. Yeah, we can enforce that because it's a law. But you know, we can't just come in and remove someone who's drinking, you know, or violated any of your bylaws or your
unless they're
your rules.
public drunk and then again violating a
It equals a law.
Drunk and disorderly.
Well, thank you. That
One
makes
of the
a difference.
impetuses to this was somebody had come to us and asked that we bring it up tonight because, actually insisted, because they personally not only were witnessed this stuff in several occasions, but they were invited and solicited to come in, and so were others. And there was a group of people actually that all said that, and they asked her to be the one that brought it to us, and then that person brought it to me, the moderator. What should happen in that situation? Because if I call you, wasn't the personal one that witnessed it. Does it have to be the one that witnessed it or one of the members of the group that calls you?
Because right now you got a lot of hearsay, and you got a lot of people saying, "Hey, he said this, he said this, he said this."
You didn't personally witness it. It didn't happen in your presence. So.
Yeah, Tommy, or one of the other 4. I think it was 4 people that made a complaint. There was a group of, I think it's either 4 or 5, and then they asked Tommy to. And so, because they're like, what do we do? And Tommy says, well, I'll bring it up to the
If she comes back here and is willing to talk to you, is that what it takes?
Going to be and ask them
kind
to
of
bring
thing?
it up. So that's hence we brought it up.
I don't know exactly what it was. Was she being solicited drugs? Was she being?
She was
Tommy?
basically asked, hey, do you want to? First, she asked people to stop the drinking because they were openly drinking and they were shouting out. They didn't care. They were going to
We just discussed the drinking.
Right. So then they said, we don't care what any of the rules or the laws are. Would you like to come into the tent and get stoned? And she said, you can't do that. Besides being illegal, it's against the policy of the group. And they said, we don't care what the law or the policy is, of the group is. Do you want to come get stoned or not? And so basically, she and several other people there were really concerned. Other people went and did it, and others went aside and said, I guess we have to talk to the group and figure out what they do. So since I was going to be one of the moderators, they came to me and asked me as the moderator to introduce the issue of how do we enforce the zero tolerance policy. And I said, well, I think, you know, we have to discuss that as a group. Do we call the police? What do we do? And so that was the topic tonight.
Well, and one of the things we kind of discussed was that, you know, you guys need to determine who here is, you know, official, who's in charge, and who would be the one to sign a, you know, say a, you know, trespassing citation. So if there was someone that has been asked to leave and is not welcome here, who would be the one to sign? And so that's, you know, that would be something you probably need to speak with your attorney about and see, you know, who they're going to designate, who's going to be that one, who's going to be in charge.
Could be the attorney.
Yeah, it may be who's in charge of the permit that you guys obtained to be here.
So as holders of the permit, though, we do have that authority to
I'm
say we don't want that person here.
I'm assuming
or do we need to get that legal issue?
I would clear that up. Does the permit you guys have?
Yeah.
Do the permit you guys obtained through the city give you the right to exclude people from this park?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen the permit.
Yeah, I don't want to throw you into
That's
the
true.
lawyer.
If you violated someone's civil rights, it's a public park.
But
if
it does, you know, because, you know, like with some of the parks, like say they have a pavilion, and you rent that pavilion out, and it's, you know, so you kind of have control of that little piece of property, and so you can tell people, no, you're not allowed to come in here.
If they're disrupting
So
us.
if you guys have rented this, then you may have that right to exclude people and to trespass people.
Okay, well then we'll throw that back to our attorney.
And that's what, and all those questions should be able to be answered by tomorrow. You know,
It is kind of a
speaking to
slippery
our
legal
supervisors
slope.
tomorrow. Yeah,
because
and
it's like we're having a private party on public property, and I think common sense just kind of has to carry the day. Common sense is common law. Obviously, you don't come in here being
use
disruptive,
drugs.
use drugs, be drunk and disorderly.
Using drugs and public drunk are two violations
Exactly.
that are clear.
Right.
Drinking, though, publicly without the public drunkenness part.
As long as they're not intoxicated. As long as
Since
they're
you're
not
going-
or they're in a
intoxicated.
glass bottle.
Since you're
Or in a
going to
glass
take
bottle.
some of these questions back, you said to your supervisors and so
Yeah,
forth.
like I said, tomorrow you can.
Would you do us a courtesy
They're
of?
probably either going to come out
Hang on,
here, or
guys.
y'all send somebody over there. But I know they were telling us a lot of your issues that you guys are having tonight should be able to be resolved by tomorrow.
Would you be
And you know-
willing to ask somebody that gets us those
Where's she?
answers, whether it's one of you or the supervisors themselves,
With you?
to come to our GA tomorrow at 7:30 and tell us what the answers is, so that we'll all be assembled when you tell us. Because that way we can hear.
Is it 7:30 in the morning?
It's 7:30 p.m. And that way we can all hear what the police have told us is the case. So then we can decide democratically what to do about it.
Sort of outline what the.
And then,
Thank you so much.
And then secondly, Tuesday at 4:30, I have a meeting with Councilman Ed Shadid, and he was going to bring people from Parks and Rec, and I believe he was going to contact you guys and see if we could get a couple of reps for that. So at that point, that might be a good time to sit down and discuss some of these issues. With him, we're trying to do an ongoing dialogue, but to begin with, we want to address the things of most immediate urgency, of which this is one of them.
This is one of them.
So I'll probably call Councilman